Welcome, friends. Welcome, family. What's up, Ma? How you guys doing? Welcome to a Friday edition of The Watch List. Glad you guys could join us for this. Yes, I said us because my surprise guest host today on a Friday, all the way from Texas, is Yasmin Khan. She's a breakdown contributor. We've been chopping up before we get on the air. We've learned some things about Yaz and lack of fixing faces. I like to give you guys just a little glimpse of our pre-show conversations. But how you doing down there in Texas, there, Yaz? What's going on?
I'm good. Whenever you brought up the conversation, I was like, "Are you about to just talk about my face right now?" And yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Apparently, it can't be hidden. Actually, I do remember previously when you've been on the show, there was a moment that you then reposted of yes, you could not fix your face in reaction to something disgusting we were watching.
And it's so weird because when you're on camera, you can see your own face in a way that you just don't in normal life. So there's always, it's ripe for screenshotting.
There's always room to grow. Well, glad you could join us as we end this week. There's lots going on in the news, as you guys could know. I want to start here because this is a battle. The basic nature of this battle seems like it's on the surface about the RNC, but in reality, I'm going to show you guys how this is actually about the presidency from the Republican side. Let's go here.
Who should lead the RNC and whether it should be Ronna for a fourth term or go a different direction with Harmeet Dillon. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, we've had 3 substandard election cycles in a row, 18, 20, and 22. And I would say of all 3 of those, 22 was probably the worst given the political environment of a very unpopular president in Biden. Huge majorities of the people think the country's going in the wrong direction. That is an environment that's tailor-made to make big gains in the House and the Senate and state houses all across the country, and yet that didn't happen. And in fact, we even lost ground in the US Senate. And so, I think we need a change. I think we need to get some new blood in the RNC. I like what Harmeet Dillon has said about getting the RNC out of DC. Why would you want to have your headquarters in the most Democrat city in America? It's more Democrat than San Francisco is.
Is it? How about Chicago, LA, New York, since that's all you just toss whichever way you want at that point. Ron DeSantis, there it is, finally getting his I guess, choice for the RNC head tossed in there as everyone's battling over this, as Ronna McDaniel finds herself in some trouble. By the way, as he's talking about the issues they had in the midterms, all that has to do with the RNC. I'm not saying it has nothing to do with it, but it seems like he's shedding a bunch of responsibility from other folks within the party. It's the reasons why they had their issues in the midterms. Either way it goes, this battle has now gotten to Ron DeSantis, and there's a reason it's gotten to Ron DeSantis. First, let's see some of the issues that Ronna McDaniel continues to go through as they come for her. MSNBC talked about it. Let's watch.
Ronna McDaniel's tenure as GOP party chair gets a challenge from the far right. McDaniel, who was handpicked by then President Donald Trump for the role, is leading the RNC's 3-day winter meeting. It's in Southern California, and a key item on tomorrow's agenda, a vote to pick the party's next leader. McDaniel's biggest competition appears to be from Harmeet Dillon, an RNC member who leads the Republican National Lawyers Association and once represented Mr. Trump. Also pushing for that role, the MyPillow founder, Mike Lindell. Yep.
It's like all the players in there. Harmeet Dillon, very serious candidate. And then there's the MyPillow head guy, Mike Lindell. I guess he's jumping in it too. So Harmeet Dillon apparently appears to be, I guess, the candidate that's getting the support of the Ron DeSantis of the world, but also Kari Lake, which we'll also talk about later in the show. These types of players, these types of names, think about who they're supporting and probably why. Here's the Kari Lake part. Let's watch.
I have to say something about this amazing woman. We need people who will listen. Hi, Ronna. We need people who will listen to the grassroots. And right now, the Republican Party has such an opportunity. The grassroots are activated. And by grassroots, I mean the mama bears and papa bears. In Arizona, we have a movement of moms and dads who are fed up with the way that the country is going. They're fed up with Democrat policies that are driving our country into the ground. And we need somebody like Harmeet. We need a change. And we thank Ronna for her service and her time. America needs a change right now. We need a fighter who's willing to stand up. I know for a fact that this amazing woman could make way more money doing what she does, which is amazing legal work. She's stepping into the fray at this critical moment in American history.
Listen to the things that first Ron DeSantis said off the top, and then Kari Lake there saying about Harmeet Dillon there. These are things you could apply to any Republican that's gonna run the RNC, because that's just basically the idea. We need to go a different direction because the Democrat Party is destroying this country and we need to change it and change it and change it. What is it that the previous one was doing that was so wrong? They haven't said it yet because they're all gonna do the same damn thing. There's one more player though, as we saw. We can see endorsements flying for Harmeet Dillon. Where's the endorsement flying from Mike Pillowhead? It's coming from Mike Pillowhead, watch.
So, Mike Lindell, why would your victory at the RNC be anything but a total disaster then, sir?
No, it'd be the biggest uniting of the RNC ever. What's not united, you brought it up, and Ronna never answered the question. You brought up your Charlie Kirks and everyone else out there that has a problem with the current leadership at the RNC. Steve, these are all the grassroots. These are the people of this country. The people, if you did a poll, Ronna's getting 1%. Not even, some of them in the negative, or I mean less than 1%. I will unite this party like never before because you're starting from the bottom up. And you know what? You guys at the top, you better come on board, or you know what? You're outnumbered. This is it. We have to come together, but it's.
I would love to see that happen. I got to be honest. So yes, we've got the players in place. We have the endorsements flying. I want to point out to you guys why I think this is a bit of a preview to who they're trying to nominate when it comes to their presidential nominations come 24. But first, just this breakdown. Where do you see this going?
Yeah, Mike Lindell, the great unifier. He started from the bottom and now he is wherever he currently is. Right. I don't know. Yeah, but this is sort of another layer of what's going on with Trump and DeSantis, right? And I don't know if I might be talking about what you're about to be talking about, but this feels kind of like a proxy war to me, right? Ronna McDaniel was handpicked by Trump and she lost a lot of support amongst Republicans since the 2022 midterms. Even before that, she was losing support. So that's something that could also be said about Trump, considering how many of his endorsed candidates actually lost their races across the country in 2022. So I think we're starting to see the Republican Party shift away from Trump in that whole Trumpian era. And I don't necessarily think that that's a good thing. DeSantis is now and has always been much more frightening and threatening than Trump is to this country. His unofficial endorsement of Harmeet Dillon has already shaken things up for the chair race. So it's hard to deny that his influence is growing over the party, and we shouldn't really ignore it.
I'm glad you talked about the proxy war. I called it a cold war because yes, as you can see, where these people are falling in place. Ron DeSantis, Harmeet Dillon. Who is still supporting Ronna McDaniel? Well, it's Donald effing Trump. He's still pushing for her. He still wants her back because she was the one that was part of them in the RNC paying his legal bills as he's going through all the investigations and such until finally, he detached too far. She was always the one that had his back. But what about the rest of the RNC? Let's go to graphic one here. The 168 members of the RNC are gathering in Southern California to select their own leader on Friday, their own leader. In interviews this week with 59 of them, which is more than 1/3 of the committee's membership, found few eager to crown Mr. Trump as their nominee for a third time. Yeah, he's losing it there. The New York Times called, emailed, or texted all 168 RNC members, and just 4 out of 168 offered an unabashed endorsement of Trump's 2024 campaign. 20 said that the former president should not be the party's nominee, and an additional 35 said they'd like to see a big primary field or declined to state their position on Trump. So that's the one thing about it. One more piece here. In interviews, some RNC members estimated that between 120 and 140 of them preferred someone besides Trump to be their party's presidential nominee. That's where it is, and I think people are seeing that, they're reading it, and they don't want to back a loser, but they also don't want to say Trump is a loser, we're not going to back him. There's still this avoidance factor, and it's like maybe we'll mention someone else on the side, so we'll have to directly say we don't want Donald Trump to be our nominee. When it starts falling into place, everyone else that's surrounding and whoever else that's supporting certain folks will be collateral damage. Ronna McDaniel apparently appears to be that first one on the chopping block. So I think you previewed exactly what I was talking about.
I like how we're on the same page.
Absolutely, it's the way Fridays should work. Let's be on the same page on this next story, you guys, because I mentioned Kari Lake and Donald Trump. Yeah, she still has a little bit of Trumpism to her too. Let's watch.
Arizona, Kari Lake here. I wanted to reach out to you to let you know that I am still in this fight with you. For 2 years, I've been sounding the alarm about our broken election system. We'll see what the court says. We really will. It will be up to the court. When we fight this and we bring forth our great case, they will listen. It's not about me.
And my pronouns are I won.
The way we get it changed is we get the real governor, the duly elected governor, myself in there.
But we will be restoring faith in our elections.
At what point does Kari Lake stop and say, am I undermining American faith in our elections?
Kari Lake going to help bring back honest elections to America?
But you haven't even laid out any fraud or irregularity.
Bonds are about destroying America.
But what fraud is there, Kari?
I identify as a proud election-denying deplorable. Are you with me?
But I think we should have a new election. I think that is something that should be on the table, this time run by competent people.
Another election run by a bunch of clowns, and we're not going to take it anymore.
The last person on this planet Earth I would tell about what we discovered is you and MSDN.
So you know about a crime, and yet you're not reporting it to authorities.
And I'm not telling you.
To watch them steal this in broad daylight, and if they think they're going to get away with it, they messed with the wrong bitch, okay?
The election denialism is very strong on this one, pretty much like her Lord and Savior Donald Trump, of course, but just like her prototype there, she's doing it for the money. Let's go into these details here. So between the day after the election and the end of the year, Lake received more than 57,000 contributions from 37,281 people. All told, the former television news anchor turned MAGA star raised just over $2.5 million after the election. Weird. Let's check out this map of where she's getting all these contributions from, all over the damn country, because she's doing media tours, she's on national television, cable news, all the conservative outlets. And what the hell is she talking about? There's a reason why I could compile so many clips for 2.5 damn minutes there. All she's talking about is stolen elections. I won. I was cheated. We're gonna challenge this. We're gonna check that. She's been rejected 2 times by the Arizona Supreme Court for her accusations, her appeals, and her concrete evidence that she's not gonna tell anyone about, because it's not about that. There's more, because it's about this. And the money doesn't include what Lake raised into a 501c4 nonprofit called the Save Arizona Fund. It was created in early December of last year, and has since become the primary vehicle for Lake to raise cash to continue her legal fight. Remember that part, her legal fight against her election loss. So it's about that. They did spend $3 million of the money that they've raised from before and after of that 2.5, promising these folks that gave them all that money that it's gonna go to that legal challenge. Let's find out where it maybe already went. Only $228,000 was spent on the lawsuit aiming to overturn the election. $228,000, $3 million. Less than 10% of her post-election haul. Most of that, about $187,000 of it, went to DC corporate and employment attorney Kurt Olson, the lead lawyer on the lawsuit. Another $40K went to Scottsdale divorce attorney Brian Blem, who was also co-counsel on the election challenge. So 6 figures here and there based off of these several $1 million that went. That was to actual attorneys. Lake also spent another $62,500 on attorney's fees after the election, but they were for attorneys who did not participate in the election challenge. Again, where is this money going? It's going into marketing. Marketing being getting her name out there, her face out there, and constantly pushing to folks to support her based off of whatever next step she's doing or whatever it is as far as pocketing. Here's that detail. More than $433,000 of that was spent on telemarketing and auto dialers, according to the finance reports there. And it lines up with the services the firm performed for Lake prior to election day. And in the 6 weeks before the election, she paid Tag Strategies nearly $2.2 million for those same telemarketing and auto dialers. And the firm charged roughly $1 million for consulting fees on top of it all. So all that said, she paid that particular service $4.8 million. Damn. Like I said, she's just like her old pal Donald Trump, because he did this, remember?
The Trump campaign used these false claims of election fraud to raise hundreds of millions of dollars from supporters who were told their donations were for the legal fight in the courts. But the Trump campaign didn't use the money for that. The big lie was also a big ripoff.
That big ripoff spent those hundreds of $1 million. I guess Trump's a bigger player. She only had like 3 to 4 million. Sent to his own pockets, to his Trump Save America PAC, which who knows where that money went next. Yo, at some point, yes, they're gonna figure it out. Actually, you know what? Maybe they won't. When are you gonna stop giving these folks your money after they say, they cheated me, give me money, and then it goes right to their pockets?
Yeah, like I feel like if they were going to catch on, it would have happened by now, right? Or it should have happened by now, it really should have. It's kind of sad because Republican voters are constantly just giving money to their candidates because they think it'll make a difference either in their electoral races or in their legal battles. But we are constantly hearing stories of how Republican figures are grifting their own supporters. You just don't hear those same type of stories coming from the Democrat side. But people become grifters because it's profitable to do so. I would be very surprised if Kari honestly believed that she won the governorship of Arizona, but it doesn't matter if she believes it or not. She doesn't even need to offer any supporting evidence to the fact that she won. All that matters is that her supporters believe it. And if they're just giving her money for losing, she's kind of winning, right? She's getting money, she's maintaining her influence, and she doesn't actually have to do the job of governing an entire state. So good for her.
The hard work part is left out, but then you still get paid to say that you won and you should be there. I think there was a couple of assumptions made, or people inside were saying Trump never really fully thought he could win. Of course, he would liked it for the fun of being president. And once he did, he's like, oh damn, I have to do stuff. Please don't make me do stuff. And he followed through by doing a bunch of crazy stuff. But by the way, also from that same point of view, if the fact that she was that close, it was a close race, right?
Yeah.
Out in Arizona. So even more so, you have the opportunity to really push that point home of look how close it was. So therefore they cheated me. Not look how close I was. Let's try this again. Let me try to appeal to different people and figure out a way to get past that last hurdle. No, it's just I lost. Give me some money because they cheated me. Because that's how these things work. It's lazy politicians. If this is in any other field, people are like, yo, just get yourself together and actually do the work and get your position you're supposed to get.
Yeah.
For some reason in this position, you don't have to do that. Let's take this first break, you guys. A few of your comments and thoughts from these first couple of stories, but also when we get back, we have a bit of a school violence gun block we've got going on. One update from one we've already seen, and another a way to potentially prevent these. I'm really curious what you're gonna think about this, because I think some people might fall on both sides of how to stop this. It's a new technology that they're trying to implement. We'll see if this works out, but also your comments when we come back.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was a white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it though.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
There's nice guys all through the TYT chats, from members to Twitch and everything. You guys are in a good mood today. Let me go ahead and let you guys relay your niceties to my guest here. Eric the Red, over TYT member, says, yes, with 2 Z's. My favorite Texan by a Longhorn's length. Wow.
Thank you very much.
It's lots of Texans to choose from.
That's a big length, yeah.
Right? Also, Ian, TYT member, says, watching Kirk and Desantis makes me think of Beavis and Butthead. I'm thinking Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz, but still, it's fine. Arjun Regine actually put out the pronunciation because he knew I'd screw it up. Every day I sing along to the bass synth at the end of your theme song, Jayar. Just me? I don't think so. I mean, I used to, but now I'm too busy trying to figure out how to start the show. Over on Twitch, love you guys on Twitch. Haiku Dragon says, first, happy Friday, Jayar, and yes. Second, Jayar's cap is fire. Third, hi to all my fellow TYT family. Have a great weekend. $1 to anybody who can figure out what this hat is. Dissident PM also on Twitch says, Yaz Queen, exclamation points, of course. More love from my guests. You guys know I love when you do that. YouTube super chats really fast. Ingy Bingy 2000. Jayar, do you have any Savannah Bananas hats? No, but my kid told me all about it, showed me clips. These guys are crazy. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get my hands on one. I don't know if I have to go all the way down to Savannah for it, but we'll figure that out. A few more. Grumpy Cat Pillows Unite. Mike Pillowhead, apparently, he's uniting the party. Costa Kirakopoulos. Did JR really just say my Pillowhead guy? Yeah, I've done it a couple times, that guy in his head. Lastly, because we should end it this way. You don't like my music, says Yasmin is my favorite Disney princess. Which one? Have you been told that before? It seems like something to be normal.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I get that a lot.
All the time. It looks like, if this whole commentary thing and political discussion and the analyst thing to work out, there's always a job at Disney. Let's jump into this next.
On it, solid backup plan.
Yeah, it's really good. That's always gonna be there. Let's go ahead and jump into this next story though, you guys. Update from that shooting of the 6-year-old in class to his teacher. Let's go, or their teacher, we don't know who they were.
3 times, school administration was warned by concerned teachers and employees that the boy had a gun on him at the school, but the administration could not be bothered.
That attorney laying out a disturbing timeline, saying it was Ronna who first warned the school the boy had threatened to beat up another child that morning.
They didn't call security, they didn't remove the student from the classroom.
After a tip about a gun, another teacher searched the boy's backpack an hour later, but found nothing. But when the teacher warned an administrator the gun could be in the pocket, her concerns were allegedly dismissed.
The administrator downplayed the report from the teacher and the possibility of a gun, saying, and I quote, "Well, he has little pockets."
Like with most of these school violence shooting stories, as more details come out, the worse it looks. Apparently, people knew about this child with the gun on him that day. Threats were happening. Many things weren't happening in response to that. As a matter of fact, there's one. It's the other child that said he was also threatened by the child. They have those details as well. Let's watch more.
A half an hour later, Zawerna's attorney says a third teacher reported a student who was crying because the 6-year-old had threatened him with the gun during recess. But again, no action. Finally, Zawerna claims another concerned staffer asked to search the boy but was denied, told, wait the situation out because the school day was almost over. Minutes later, police say the boy opened fire with a handgun he brought from home.
These details that are coming out as reasons why you saw Abby Zwerner there, her attorney speaking for her instead, is because, yeah, she's planning on suing the school based off of these things. Yo, she took a bullet. I think they even said it's still lodged in her body somewhere, if I get those details right. We'll see. But the parents of that child, as people are asking, of course, what's going to happen to them? The gun safety issue, was it not locked up? This is some of the things that actual people who don't give a damn about any gun safety or minimizing the number of guns that we have in this country do say they want, is to punish parents that end up doing things irresponsibly. So of course, they have to defend themselves as well. This is what they talked about.
Tonight, for the first time, the parents of the 6-year-old boy accused of shooting his first grade teacher speaking out, adding, "Our son suffers from an acute disability and was under a care plan at the school that included his mother or father attending school with him. The week of the shooting was the first week we were not in class with him. We will regret our absence on this day for the rest of our lives." They go on to say the gun used by their son was secured. "Our family has always been committed to responsible gun ownership and keeping firearms out of the reach of children," their statement says.
Well, first, I didn't realize that there was these types of setups where parents show up at school with their 6-year-old kid and are there every day in class, sitting next to them. That's just the picture in my head that I'm getting from the way this is put together by the parents, saying they regret not being there that one day. But then the gun is there, and gun safety, it's locked up, and he has an acute condition and all this. All these details are just not coming out, at least from my perspective, see what's happening. But what the response is gonna happen to the school, I think, is part of the other sad thing here. District officials have said that when it reopens, because the school has been closed ever since, it will be outfitted with a metal detector. The district also secured funding for 90 state-of-the-art detectors that will be placed on every district and campus. So all the other schools now are gonna have these metal detectors, because of course they can't have this continue to happen. But the one main thing that's happening here is, from the top, we talked about how they didn't do much about it. They were warned multiple times. The kid had it in his pocket, backpack. Another kid said so, but the search never happened. That's the question I didn't have though, Yaz. Can they really search this kid based off of what someone says and then say there's nothing in the kid's pocket, there's nothing in his backpack? He goes home and says, "Yo, I was searched like I'm a criminal on the streets." That's gonna be a separate problem. I'm not sure where the best approach here could have been, but they're definitely getting sued.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit tricky, especially when you're dealing with somebody who's 6 years old, so young, right? But there were, what was it, like 3 different instances where something was reported to the faculty that something was not right, that this child had a gun. They should have made more of an effort to find the gun. But I think what they tried to do is just wait it out till the end of the day. But even so doing, it was too late, because that's when he shot his teacher. And I don't blame the teacher for suing. I can't fathom how a report like that could go as ignored by the school officials. I really think they should have done more, and they could have avoided the situation the way that it played out, right? And it's almost like we've become so numb to gun violence that just hearing about a gun on a school campus, especially an elementary school campus, should be like a really big deal. But it was like, okay, well, we'll just wait and see. That's kind of strange to me. And then the parent thing, you didn't mention the other part of the parent thing.
The other part of the parent thing, which part is that? Did I miss?
Where other people in the school, they said, no, we don't remember his parents being there. That part.
This is what I'm trying to figure out now. If they say something so blatantly and news is reporting it, then how is that not the next part about this whole thing?
It's so weird. I don't understand.
Because that doesn't seem like a normal thing. That's what I was wondering. It doesn't seem like a normal thing where they said both, in a way, these parents showed up.
Yeah, the way they worded it sounded like both of the parents were sitting in the class with the child for like a week or something like that. But nobody else has corroborated that story, which is, it's kind of a weird story to come up with if it's a lie.
There's a lot happening here that we don't know about, or that maybe, who knows, maybe someone said they could do this. There's something weird here. But again, this lawsuit will probably, clear all that up, because once money's involved and they're slapping metal detectors on every school in the district, now we have a whole different situation happening. She's gonna win that lawsuit. Let's keep it real. That's gonna go down that way. And in the meantime, there's been no school. That's the next collateral damage of this. Everyone's just screwed over because we don't care. We stop talking about it right afterwards. There's folks that are talking about ways to prevent school shootings. This could be another debatable approach here. Where do you land on the side of this debate? Let's watch.
A disturbed individual shows up at a school with an assault weapon. Now, in this situation, I think the future will play out something like this. Someone in the school hits a panic button, and that button opens a live stream to a public safety dispatcher. And it activates a pre-positioned drone that's been just sitting there passively on a hallway ceiling or within the school, kind of like a smoke detector. And that drone sends its live feed back to police dispatch so they can monitor the situation. And if that human operator gives the go signal, then the drone rotors up, it immediately deploys into the scene, and there, together with the operator, it can help identify the threat, and under direct control of that human operator, it could incapacitate that threat. This response could bring a situation under control in a matter of seconds. I believe this is how we can end school shootings.
There's Rick Smith, CEO and founder of Axon, that technologically developing company. Last summer, talking about ways that he thinks they could neutralize these school shooters. A drone that's placed in these schools and ready to go at any point where someone can come and control it and take them out. Non-lethal weapons, though, to do so. His latest idea to do this, though, rubbed a few of their board members the wrong way, and they've since left, and they're very upset about this. But before we get to how much they've changed it and pushed back on this, because once it comes up internal conversations, we wonder what else was said behind the scenes. But first, let's let Rick finish explaining how he thinks this can end. Let's watch more.
Think about the Mandalay Bay shooting. The shooter's elevated somewhere in a massive building, hard to locate. A threat response drone could have gotten there much faster and likely captured him alive. Or the Pulse nightclub. It can take hours to assemble a SWAT team to respond to events like these. When you have drones, you can send them in much faster. And compared to a human life, a drone is disposable. And you can remove the human risk to the first responders. Of course, we've talked about these horrific school shootings. They just keep happening. If we had pre-positioned protective assets on site, you could stop these threats much faster with far less risk to everyone.
Particular situations where he sees where this could change. But let's go back to that first clip, because I forgot to say one thing. If you guys notice the imagery in that particular clip talking about ways the drone can be deployed and the school shooter coming in, the depictions in that, in the imagery there, right there, the school shooter looks like a cartoon superhero. The slides look like comic, like an action comic book, like a Superman comic book. Even the wording as it goes through, and then when the non-lethal rounds goes like fit, it's like fun. It's like exciting. I guess that's part of the sales job, which I'm sure you're gonna get to. But one more part about this last presentation, is Rick Smith realizes some of the pushback, some of the problems with it, and he acknowledges it. And he gives 3 rules for robot safety when it comes to AI and things like that, similarly to the way that we saw in iRobot. Let's watch him finish this.
I'd like to start by proposing the 3 laws of first responder robotics. First, any decision must be made by another human. And not just any human, we need to know who that human is. They must be authenticated and have accepted legal and moral responsibility. Second, there should be no lethal force. Robots don't need to defend themselves with lethal force. We need to focus on making less lethal force sufficiently effective, and de-escalation should always be the key. And then finally, we should embed audio and video capabilities into these systems and require their use be recorded and reviewed by independent oversight committees.
Yasmin, has he convinced you?
No, he has not. Not at all. I am with Jayar. I am nothing if not skeptical of everything and everyone. I'm very skeptical of technology, especially drone technology that's strapped with tasers, right? Especially to be used in schools. And this CEO, I don't really trust him either. He seems very opportunistic to me, and maybe in maybe one of the worst ways that I can think of, right? So first of all, I don't trust any of these visionaries who claim that they have the one solution to some widespread problem that's affecting millions and millions of people. We shouldn't be trusting these people either. As Americans, we've been burned enough times. Elon was gonna fix traffic, and the Theranos girl was gonna fix medicine, and SBF was gonna fix crypto, and we know how all those stories turned out. Also, he used the Uvalde tragedy and the Pulse nightclub tragedy as justification for moving forward with his pilot program, despite the fact that the majority of his own board voted against him doing so. And if that's not like narcissism, claiming entrepreneurial exceptionalism, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, those board members resigned after that pushback happened, and they said it seemed like the discussion was going to happen or pauses were going to go into place. And apparently that didn't happen. They pushed back, and now they have letters and press releases really blowing this whole thing up. So it appears to be a little bit up in the air, but they're pushing forward. I'm sure they've got folks to replace them there. And again, this goes to your point about the potential money-making part about this. This is what Axon is, because I'd seen their imagery before, and we've seen it in body camera. That's where you see that little logo, and many of the police body cam footages that we always see of them beating the hell out of someone or murdering someone in the streets. This is what their About page says about the company. We're Axon, a team committed to pushing the boundaries of technology to help law enforcement feel more confident in the field, at the station, and in court. Smart weapons like their taser devices are part of their whole thing. So the idea is to develop weaponry or assist in ways that they can potentially have police do their job, whatever it is they may be, from visual to technological approaches. So yeah, these are the types of companies that get these big, these grants or these projects to then implement technology for police departments, which we know we give tons of money to. So he's got to develop new ways to do it. And honestly, I actually do think a percentage of him, I can't give it, his heart is in a place of we got to stop these school shootings. I don't think he wants them, but his approach to doing it is like, I have a new idea and it could be a moneymaker. That's at least the way I see it. I'm not sure which order those priorities are in.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair. I can't imagine that anybody wants school shootings to happen, right? I think you'd have to be a uniquely terrible person to want these types of things to happen. And maybe he does have some kind of a solution, but at the end of the day, we know what the solution is to the problem. And this country will do anything. We'll go way out of its way. We'll put drones that are strapped with tasers in schools to avoid doing the one thing that we need to do. And we will spend God knows how much money doing so. How much money are these drones going to cost our public school systems?
They don't care.
And they already have no money. We don't even have teachers, but we're going to have drones. Okay.
It's going to be the way it is. And by the way, he did mention the problem of someone's manning this drone, and maybe they'll start getting out of control, over policing, start firing at kids because that kid's in the hallway while they're supposed to be in class. Things like that eventually happen. It comes with school resource officers when they're there in schools in person. We've seen attacks. There's an image of the particular kind of drone that may be taking down a school shooter. We'll see where it goes. But the concerns are there, and he says he understands them. We'll see how they adjudicate this whole thing. But board members are not happy. Let's go ahead and change gears again and go to this next story. I love this type of stuff. Let's go.
Congressman, you sound a good game. What in the world were you and your 19 colleagues doing, torturing the speaker, your speaker designate, Kevin McCarthy? What,
Geraldo,
for your
it's
egos?
old news.
What?
They come and go, but when rules are established, they often can be endured.
Geraldo, let me step in here for that. Geraldo, wait a minute. Geraldo, hang on.
Geraldo's none too happy with Matt Gaetz. This is weeks after the whole battle over Kevin McCarthy and the speakership vote, which took an extra 15, 16 votes, something like that, to finally get it done. And Geraldo's been holding his fire until he gets Matt Gaetz's face in front of him. The battle continued as they were going over the problem. As he said, he was torturing Kevin McCarthy. I mean, when they're all fighting, it's hard to really pick sides, but let's go ahead and let them continue fighting. Sean Hannity jumped into this part about it, though.
Your speaker designate, Kevin McCarthy, what,
Geraldo,
for your
it's
egos?
old news.
What was that for? What did you hope to attain in that?
So first of all, I got some constituents in the military that could talk to you about real torture. I don't think sitting through 15 votes quite qualifies, but here's what we were fighting for. We believe that instead of having omnibus spending legislation that comes to us with only a few hours to consider thousands of pages and then vote on something that funds every agency of the government all at once, that we should take individual votes on appropriations bills. But when rules are established, they often can be endured.
Congressman, with your filibuster right now, you are portraying yourself to the American people as a as a thoughtful legislator. And yet the publicity that you get characteristically, almost inevitably, is flamboyant. It's confrontational.
Hold on, Geraldo, let me step in here. Geraldo, wait a minute. Geraldo, hang on.
I make a substantive argument about changes to the process, and you call me flamboyant and confrontational?
Geraldo, he answered your question.
Geraldo, he answered your question. You're getting flamboyant and filibustery. This is the things that he was filibustering about, at least, and maybe some of these points some people could agree with. Let's watch what Gaetz was saying that had Geraldo so upset.
That's a concession we didn't have when voting began. It's one we earned by the time it ended. We also believe that when bills are considered, they should comport to a single subject, so I don't have to do what I've had to do in the past and vote on the farm bill at the same time you're voting on whether or not there's going to be war powers in Yemen. We also wanted open amendments, so Republicans or Democrats could offer germane adjustments to legislation, and everyone could take votes on these things.
I know it's tough, yes, but you got to choose a side. Matt Gaetz in his forehead, or Geraldo Rivera and his anger about torturing.
Side. Oh God, yeah. I have no idea. How am I going to choose a side right there?
I know.
It feels like Geraldo was just like waiting. He's like, oh, let me just like get my hands on Matt Gaetz, and then I'll really give it to him. And then it happened way after anybody is still talking about any of this.
Yeah.
It's like Matt Gaetz, he can't catch a break. He doesn't make it easy on himself, to be fair, but it's like he goes on Fox News. What goes on over at Fox News, though? There's just so many clips like this that come from Fox News, and you don't really see a whole lot of that coming from other networks. It's no wonder that their entire viewer base is always so freaked out and like stressed out about everything.
Well, this is the thing, and I think some of the points that Gaetz says they were fighting for and got concessions from McCarthy for are stuff that's worth fighting for. You know, the clarity of bills and all that type of stuff, and people seeing what's happening and not stacking something in the middle of something that everyone else wants. There's a bunch of tricks that, by the way, politicians do. That's just the nature of the way they do it. Yeah, highlight it and try and change it. The one thing I always want to point out is what Matt Gaetz said during the whole battle with Kevin McCarthy. And what he said, Kevin McCarthy is about the swampiness of DC. See if this is what some of the concessions were that they were going through once he demanded these types of changes. Remember this?
Look, part of the groupthink of Washington, D.C. is you come here and you've just got to give the lobbyists your vote card and the leadership your calendar and everything will be okay. Kevin McCarthy has no ideology. Even his own supporters would admit that in private. He is simply a vessel through which lobbyists and special interests operate. So it's not that we're not being team players, it's just that my team are the people in Florida who sent me here to fight for them. My team is not the assembly of groupthink that occurs inside the swamp. We got to drain this swamp. We shouldn't put one of the alligators in charge.
Anti-swamp Congressman Matt Gaetz. He's saying truth right there. Lobbyists coming in, forcing people to do certain votes because they pay them enough, because they want to continue to have that same job of being bought off by lobbyists and those interests. Very true. Have you heard Matt Gaetz talking about that ever since? Have you heard Matt Gaetz going around touting the victory he's gotten over Kevin McCarthy and how Kevin McCarthy's agreed to dismiss lobbyist money to make sure we pass some legislation that makes sure we eliminates this money from politics and these bribes that happen from lobbyists and other rich folks that make politicians do their bidding? Is he still on that line? It's weird how no matter how virtuous these politicians get, once it comes down to who's giving them the money across the board, they're all in agreement. Well, let's stop there. We're still gonna take the money, and that changes votes no matter what. No matter what side of the aisle you are, it goes to whoever it is that's paid them enough. And lobbyists pay Democrats, lobbyists pay independents, and lobbyists pay Republicans. They'll say it when they're fighting, but they won't do anything about it. That's why you have to pay attention to what they're doing and not just what they're saying. He'll keep saying those things. Yeah, last thoughts, yes, before we move on.
Yeah, even Obama was against all the lobbying that goes on in Washington. That was one of his big campaign promises, that he was going to kind of curb lobbying in Washington. I don't think he was able to do that. I don't know how he would be able to do something like that. But in this case, in the very rare defense of Matt Gaetz that I will make, he did actually answer Geraldo's questions. And then Geraldo was like, you're filibustering. He's like, no, I just answered your question. So if I had to pick a winner, I'm not gonna say it, but
there's no winners here. I'm not gonna force you to just pick the sides, but I'm right down the middle too. I like to shove them both away from each other. Let's go ahead and jump into this next story. Footage from a freeway accident with a motorcycle behind an unmarked police car. This is madness, you guys. Let's watch.
Whoa, what are you doing, bro? Oh, maybe it is. Why he brake checked me? What are you?
What are you doing, man? Stop tailgating me.
Scary looking accident there as a motorcyclist is behind this car, which is an unmarked police car eventually, who then, as you'll see, slams on the brakes. Couple brake checks before a complete stop happening there, causing the accident. So looking closely at it, you'd be like, oh, was this guy speeding, not paying attention? He was talking about it the whole way. And as you can see also, the cop kind of swerves in front of him. A bit of a purposeful move here to make sure that this happened. But after this accident happens, and you'd assume the motorcyclist flips over tops of cars and stuff, he's then handcuffed in the middle of the street, and he leaves him there. Let's watch more.
What are you? What are you doing, man? Stop tailgating me. You're an asshole, man. Why are you doing that? Okay? Put your hand behind your back.
So your patrol car, apparently you saw at the end there, the cop said, my brakes are, nonsense. And then that happens sometimes. This police issued car has issues with its brakes. Yeah, right, bro. So as you saw, the car swerving, caused the accidents, keeps him in the road the whole time with his hands behind his back, potentially to kill him since he didn't get him the first time. But the problem is with his brakes. By the way, they did eventually let him go because what are they gonna take him in for besides destroying his property? But he wasn't arrested for not arrested for reckless driving after they cuffed him there. But in the follow-up video the rider of that motorcycle was talking about all of this and the fallout going from it. Let's watch.
So the officer's name that was involved in the accident is John Vincent Grashimer. It's he's part of Florida Highway Patrol, and it's the Davie District, Troop L, if anybody's wondering. Yeah, they did an investigation, like the sergeant came out, did an investigation. They pretty much just did a crash report on what happened. I don't think there was any disciplinary action for the cop. I've been trying to get in touch with the department to find out, but I just haven't gotten any answers. So yeah, I'm gonna email the guy's supervisor. I already tried to get in touch with the sergeant. He's not gonna answer me or get back to me. I had called the department, and the first time he wasn't there, and I sent him an email. He hasn't answered. That was like 10 days ago.
So as you can imagine, he's having trouble filing a complaint for what had happened there out on the road. Which, by the way, if he's trying to slow him down from speeding with those brake checks, maybe that's his approach to doing so. But stopping in the middle of the road seems like it's a little bit of an extreme move to try and slow someone down, especially when it ends like that, which may have been why he started coming up with excuses like, oh, my brakes are crazy and I don't understand how this whole thing works. If you're trying to slow him down, try and slow him down. This seems like a very odd approach to this and very dangerous. I'm glad the dude's at least okay, yes.
Yeah, even if the motorcyclist was speeding or if he was tailgating the cop, the whole wreck could have been avoided, right? And hasn't the cop ever taken defensive driving? What you don't do when someone's tailgating you is brake check. And what you don't do is swerve to get someone on a motorcycle to hit you just so you can have like some I told you so moment. That guy says that he feels fine after the crash, but who knows what kind of latent injuries he's sustaining that'll pop up a few years from now, right? You know how these things go. He's lucky he's okay. I'm glad he's okay. And the fact that the cop had such disregard for the cyclist's life is why so many people don't trust cops to value and protect their lives. Cops always complain that they get a bad rap in the media, but they're doing it to themselves.
You said if she's ever taking a defensive driving course, he would know not to brake check people. Yes, obviously you don't live in Los Angeles. Because cutting off brake checking is a part of daily.
Jayar. I live along the stretch of highway that is the most dangerous stretch of highway in the country, actually.
Why is that?
Because of accidents, because of wrecks, because Texan drivers we're a little insane.
I thought it's like blind turns or something, or hills.
No, it's just like we have a high speed limit on our freeways, but we're just angry Texan drivers, I guess.
Really? Aren't you guys supposed to be calm? Everything's wide and spatial out there.
No, and everyone has maybe has a gun in their glove box. Who knows?
It's 100% true. Same here.
And we're mad about all the traffic and all the construction all the time.
It's always happening everywhere it goes. Well, take your defensive driving courses. Make sure you don't flip over cops' cars. Let's wrap up this week, you guys, with this one more story. Did you ever wish you could relive a couple of moments from high school? Things you'd done wrong. If I only knew then what I know now, I could do different. This lady figured that out too. I guess. Let's watch.
More than 2,000 students attend New Brunswick High School, teenagers learning how to become adults. But police say one of those students was no teen at all. She was 29 years old and lied on her birth certificate to enroll in school, sending a chill through folks around town.
It's very scary. I wouldn't want my kids in that situation. It's very worrisome.
Police say Hee-Jung Shin was arrested, and on Tuesday she was charged with providing a false government document. But school officials say she had been going to classes pretending to be a teenager for 4 days. Police haven't said why she did this, but other students at the school tell the local paper, New Brunswick Today, that she was making friends, and they fear she might have been trying to recruit girls for sex trafficking.
Having someone that's not from my school or knowing anyone around me, coming to school that's older than me, talking to me, and not having a good intention in my school and around my friends is it's frightening.
This grown-ass lady was damn near 30 years old, and she was attending a high school for 4 days before she was discovered. We're gonna get into why it took 4 days before it was discovered, but here she is seen in class trying to figure out her geometry homework, I guess. Who knows? Working hard on her computer. By the way, she was apparently supposed to be posing as a 14-year-old freshman. Come on, bro. It took 4 days to figure this out. Either way it goes, the school realized that she was not who she said that she was after she failed to provide documentation from parents or guardians. So those parents or guardians are probably like 75, 80 years old. But still, this whole policy about how she even got this far is part of the issue here. So New Jersey state statutes, it's coupled with recommendations from New Jersey Department of Education, require schools to, quote, immediately enroll unaccompanied children, even in the absence of records normally required for enrollment, whether those children can immediately provide proof of guardianship or not. Man, so it gives them a few days to figure the whole thing out. Apparently they figured it out, and she got booted, but that was after she had already gotten involved with some friends that she was looking to gain from this. This is the part about the freshmen and the friendships that were happening. She was pretending to be a freshman, which is more surprising because I don't believe she looks like a freshman. That's what one student said. I think they were onto her. Some of the girls I know, the girl did ask them to hang out at Commercial Avenue, but they never showed up. And she started acting weird with them. Maybe her feelings were hurt. That's just the way this whole thing go. So this lady, still, I mean, they speculated maybe some trafficking setup was happening, or if she was just there to have a good time, she was bored, her job had just laid her off, who knows? But she wants to hang out in high school, which is creepy enough. One more piece before you jump in, because obviously, this is not the first time someone has tried this. Back in 2019, this is a scarier situation, I think. There was a guy that posed as a 17-year-old high schooler so he could play basketball some more. Let's watch. This is down in Dallas. Yeah, how about that, Yaz? Let's watch.
Yeah. The new guard playing for the Hillcrest High basketball team in Dallas this past season turned a lot of heads. He would sometimes drop 30 or more points in a game. Turns out he really was a man among boys.
It was a year to remember for Rashun Richardson, leading his basketball team to the playoffs this winter and earning the District Offensive Player of the Year award. There was just one problem. Authorities say the supposedly 17-year-old Richardson was actually this man, 25-year-old Sidney Gilstrap Portley, looking for a second taste of athletic glory. But after 9 months in the Dallas school system, one of Gilstrap Portley's former coaches tipped off authorities.
This was a thirst that he had, and he put everything at risk for himself and for us to live this charade.
As crazy as that whole thing is, dropping 30 on these children because that's fun, guy. There's a lot here, guys. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it is weird to me that they did not catch this person sooner. Even if you look passably like much younger than what your age is, right? I'm 34 years old. If you put me in a room full of high school students, I would stick out like a sore thumb. I just personality-wise, just the way that you carry yourself. I can't fit in with a high school student. And on top of that, of course, this is a very dangerous situation. I don't know if they mentioned why they thought she might have been sex trafficking, but they didn't really offer much of an explanation as to why she was there at all.
The fact that she's still around, I guess they could ask her these questions. There's a few holes in what was really going on here, and when eventually they figured it out, and then what she did in response, I feel like they could have given us that, but maybe they're just keeping it under wraps because of the sensitive nature of her being around children.
Yeah.
How about the sad, scary part about our boy who decided to drop 30 on these kids? He also, of course, met a kid there and started dating her. 14-year-old freshman. He's saying he was 17. She did tell her parents eventually after this was all figured out that she did not have a sexual relationship with him, at least. But still creeping is happening. The fact that he even started dating children again once he's in there. You can see the motivation behind some of these folks in doing these things outside of just playing ball. Then in jail for all these extra things. You guys, if you're still stuck in high school, just try. I mean, go see some therapy. Maybe see if you can let it go. Teach your kids maybe. Be like, I'm gonna teach you the best way because I screwed this up when I was 15. That's your best way. Live through your kids and ruin their lives that way. just go with it that way.
Great advice.
Absolutely. We're here for advice on a Friday. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here as well. To wrap up this week, enjoy your weekend, okay?
Yeah.
You guys out there, enjoy yours as well. Thank you for being here. Up next, John Iadarola with the Damage Report on a Friday. Check out him. We'll see you guys after the weekend on Monday.